What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Cowboys Culture Podcast. Culture, how are you doing? All right. We're back here just after the Monday after the Seahawks game. And boy, is it another good week coming up. And boy, was it a good game, eh? But Steven, tell us about our sponsor, like usual. And Jacob, tell us about some recent news.
Yeah, 360 Roofing and Restoration. That is your go-to roofing company in the DFW Metroplex, residential and commercial. Give them a shout for all your roofing needs. New news.
Yeah, so everybody knows pretty much at this point we're recording Monday afternoon. But it's just happened. The news just got out. All of us who were waiting and anticipating Shaq Leonard, he ended up signing with the Eagles. So, it's tough. We definitely could have used him. We don't really have huge depth at the linebacker position. We've had a couple injuries there. It's somebody we needed, especially a guy that is good at stopping the run. But obviously, the Eagles needed him a little bit more. And
clearly,
we don't know what happened with the negotiations, the contract stuff.
You never really know.
Yeah, what the price was. We don't even know if Dan Quinn thought he was a good fit. We don't know if he truly was going to be a good fit in our scheme. We don't know if he was even going to be a starter, because it's like you put him in, who do you take off the field, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna take off Bell. You're gonna take out I don't know.
Yeah.
Damone Clark. So it sucks to not get a guy like that with a big name like that. But at the end of the day, we really don't know if he would have even been a good fit for us. So it's really not worth.
Yeah, and you don't know if he's going to be
you
don't even know if he's going to be a good fit for the Eagles. So whatever,
yeah, exactly.
Send him on down the road, and let's get on with our lives here.
So just to segue, I want to say,
see you Sunday, Shaq.
There's obviously we're a few days late, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about what we think, because I know the culture is waiting to hear about what Cowboys Culture Podcast has to say about the Seahawks game. I was there. I saw the game. I saw Dak flex on Woolen live and in person. It was awesome.
Saw Jake Ferguson just flex on Jamal Adams over and over and over.
Yeah, just embarrassed him. So I mean,
Go Tigers, Jamal.
From an let me just say, going into this game, what I saw was people saying the Cowboys don't beat teams with winning records. Mm-hmm. That's number one. That's the elephant in the room. Yeah. The Cowboys can't come back
when they're down.
And when they're down, and they don't play well when they're down.
Yeah.
Dak hasn't beat anybody, so he shouldn't be in the MVP race, right?
Yeah.
And all this kind of stuff. And Dak can't perform, and the offense can't perform when the defense doesn't help them out.
Sure.
And carry them, and they get ahead, and then the defense just shuts down the other team.
Yeah.
Well, we saw pretty much. It's like, it's kind of funny. It's almost as if we let them do what we needed them to do. You know what I'm saying? Like
so that we can write the script and correct the narrative.
We played from behind, number one, because
Yeah.
we got down. I think it was, I don't remember when exactly it was, but we were down at one point, especially in the fourth quarter, which they said we couldn't do.
We were down. We were down immediately. We were down because we went down. Couldn't punch it in the red zone. Yeah, and then they scored.
Yeah. So we started playing from down, pretty much off rip. They were a winning team. We were trailing in the fourth quarter, and our defense played terribly for the majority of the game. Both defenses played terribly. But in my eyes, I think that our D line played fine. It was some slip ups in the coverage and that kind of deal.
To say the least.
Yeah, as far as defense. But man, you got to give it to Dak, man. I mean, that dude was like, it's almost like he didn't even look up at the scoreboard once, and then obviously CeeDee Lamb was having a day, Cooks was having a day, Ferg was having a huge day, and Pollard and the O-line are kind of, as far as run going, because you're seeing those second level blocks and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to see what you guys thought about, at least to begin. I wanted to give like an overview, but like what you thought about, the narrative coming into this game and your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I think you nailed it. I mean, we're always the national sports media is always trying to build this negative narrative around the Dallas Cowboys for whatever reason. Well, we know what the reasons are, right? You either hate us or you either love us or you hate us. That whole thing, but that narrative, just like you explained, it's like, first of all, the Cowboys can do no right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
You tell us we can't come back when we're down, and we do. You tell Dak that he doesn't play well when he's down, and then he does. You tell us we can't beat a team with a winning record, and then we do. And then at the end of all that, and then just like you said, one of the big things is, if the Dallas D isn't helping out and isn't stealing the ball and left and right, isn't just creating turnovers and creating 3 and outs and just being ultimate help and even scoring, the offense doesn't thrive.
Yeah.
Okay, so all of that got crumbled into a ball and thrown into a trash can Thursday night. So what do we get Friday morning? We get, it's just the Seahawks. It's a team that struggled. It is 11-year journeyman Geno Smith. It's who played incredible.
He played incredible
against. Downright picking on Duron all night long. Now Duron did get his. But still, man. Metcalf made mincemeat of that dude all night long. I thought
even Jackson Smith got going a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I thought their defense played considerably well. I thought their secondary played pretty good against us. We had some drops and stuff. Some of the stuff was on us. But it's just anyway, the narrative, your question was about the narrative. We corrected all the wrongs that they said we couldn't do. And the next morning we wake up and the goalpost has been moved a little further. So,
which we should have expected.
And you can't.
They did it during the game. Because if you remember when we were losing, depending on what the score was, it changed what they're saying.
Yeah.
So when we were losing, it's Dallas. They just can't play against good teams. And then we start winning, and it's like, the Seahawks, they've really struggled. I don't even know if they're.
I didn't have that luxury.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I hate about
it. Was real. It was real time shifting going on, and depending on who had the lead at the moment.
I need to go back.
But we should have expected that. It happens every single game. The entire NFL news media is based off of what the Cowboys are doing, right? And so they have to create this. They have to create narratives. They have to have their anti-Cowboy stuff so they can get the interaction from the fans, and it is what it is.
So I wanted to, and also, the bottom line of this is that we just completely destroyed the narrative around the Cowboys and what everybody negatively was saying around the Cowboys, and we won. We ended the game and we won, and you can't really even say that it was lopsided refereeing because the refs weren't letting either of us play. Shout out Bobby. But what I wanted to say was, and this is we didn't really talk about this before, but just really quick, as far as this game goes, I've seen 105.3 do the whole star up, star down thing, but I want to do who your clear, star was this game, who was the surprise star, and who was a bit underwhelming, if you could.
Just across the board players, Dallas.
Yeah.
I'll start. The star of the game, once again, was the quarterback.
Yeah.
Do not get it twisted, my man. If the defense is not going to help us out, if the defense is not going to play well, number 4 with the star on his helmet will put 40 on your ass.
Yeah.
All right. Excuse my language, but he will. And I didn't feel like, just kind of backtracking. I didn't feel like the defense played it overwhelmingly great against Los Angeles Rams. Dak hung 40 on him.
Yeah.
So anyway, just he of course for me was the star, and he has been for the past 6 weeks, and I don't see any signs of that slowing down, guys. There's a thing that happens to veteran quarterbacks, especially the ones that they write off early in their careers, like a Dak Prescott. like good, not great. Lucky to have him, but you wish you had Tom Brady, like we all did.
Yeah.
So like there's this thing that happens, and I kind of saw it in 2014 with Romo. Romo kind of, that Dak narrative followed him around like it will the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. But, it's good, not great. There's Aaron Rodgers over here. There's Tom Brady over here. Romo's always going to be kind of that just next tier under that top 10 or top even 5 at that point in his career. But in 2014, you could clearly tell he was playing on a different level. You could clearly tell he got into a point in his career where he had seen it all, right? And nothing was unreadable. Nothing scared him anymore. Mm-hmm. And he started shredding teams. Same thing for Matthew Stafford. I know he's still playing and everything, but he's clearly past prime Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, I think the Super Bowl was the kamikaze for Matthew. And what I'm saying is like that dude had seen it all many years and with a bad team too, right? So he just got to a point in his career where their defenses just simply could not fool him anymore. Joe Flacco, shout out, kind of the same thing when he finally got across the finish line. He just had this year where he just could not get anything past him.
Yeah.
And I think we're experiencing that with Dak in year 8. It's just, man, this is one of the most veteran players in the league as far as the quarterback is concerned with the most talent. And I think he's just gotten to a point in his career where defenses just, and especially after what he went through last year with not a lot of targets, I think we've just gotten to a point to where it's like, you got stand back, let me cook, because I've seen all of this before. I've been playing against that dude right there across the line. I've been playing against him for 8 years. I know how he's going to take his final breath before he comes across this line. So anyway, I don't mean to eat up a lot of that time. I just wanted to say that about Dak. He's an absolute superstar of that game for me.
Give me a surprise, one people wouldn't expect.
Yeah, see, unfortunately for me, the surprise is kind of the same guy. For me, Duran is kind of the surprise. And I think what I learned about Duran in that game was Duran is definitely a second-year, fifth-round corner who typically plays in the middle and kind of plays that nickel corner. We know Duran's good. I'm gonna say something now that's gonna just set Cowboy heads on fire. He's not as good as he's been making us believe he is, right? Mm-hmm. Pick sixes and all that is great, and he has been well in coverage, right? It kind of reminds me of of course it does, but a lower grade, a poor man's Trayvon, right? Especially like a young Trayvon, like a rookie year Trayvon, where he can get 15 interceptions or whatever it was, 11 I think it was. Yeah, he can go and get 11 interceptions. He also get burnt, and he's trying to hawk it. And I think Duran plays into that a little bit. Duran Bland, don't get me wrong, he's a very good cornerback and is going to have a nice little career in the NFL. And he'll always probably be the only guy to ever get 5 pick sixes. That's going to be just very difficult to get through in the future. But for me. He surprised me with just how well he did not play. He did get an interception. I was a little surprised that Metcalf, who I do not really see as one of those top tier receivers, some people do. I kind of don't. I think it's a little fraudulent. But I was very surprised that he couldn't do a little bit better in coverage. And so, also the person I was a little disappointed by is Duran Bland. If I had to have a shoe-in who surprised me, we talked about a little bit off of here before we started, but Tony is coming alive, man, and at the right time. Tony Pollard is starting to involve himself. We're kind of seeing some of those Tony Pollard blasts we're all kind of used to. Really happy that that he is. Because they were telling us we couldn't run the ball, and they were saying Tony Pollard can't. He can't be that top guy. He's got to be the he's got to be the number 2 and everything. But it looks like he's just kind of getting his spark right at the right time.
Yeah. So Jacob, give me one like clear cut, like this was the best, he was outstanding. Give me a, surprise, like, wow, like I thought, this person's just mediocre or something and they played really well. And then give me somebody who you were like, I mean, don't get him off my team because obviously we're stacked, but like, you could play better.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the go-to is Dak. I think you can't say enough for how well he played. I mean, it was crazy. It was just beautiful. It was just awesome to watch him just light up the defense and make the right reads and make the right throws. So obviously that's the go-to. But a guy that I'm going to say I was really impressed by, I think was the star, was Jake Ferguson.
Word up.
Just obviously we know he's good. He's been kind of emerging this year. But man, in this game, in a tough game like this, his toughness, his just like, I mean,
just that old school tight
attitude,
end. Yeah.
Just bringing the fight to the other team the entire game, getting under their skin, fighting, hurdling dudes, fighting for every single last
this guy
yard.
jumps people over.
Yeah, like those are the kind of guys that I want on my team when I'm in a game where we're scoring back and forth. Those are the kind of guys that I want.
You're right.
And so I was excited by that. I mean, when it comes to guys that I thought were underwhelming, I don't really know. It's tough. I mean, maybe I would say I didn't see really much out of the safety room.
Yeah.
It seemed like they
were all playing linebackers.
Yeah, it seemed like the tackling. We had some problems tackling. When it comes to Bland, I mean, that's going to be the go-to guy. Personally, I think Bland is getting picked on a little bit too much. I mean, you take away those two big plays, and he didn't really have a terrible game. He had a pick that really
kind of saved the game.
Kind of saved the game in a way. Could have been a lot more impactful if we managed it properly. But so I guess really when it comes to the things that I was underwhelmed with or things that I wish were better, from a player standpoint, I mean, I don't think Bland was terrible. I think he had one of his worst games, but I don't think it was as bad as people are saying. I think our tackling was bad. But the thing that I was really frustrated with was the coaching. It seemed like we got outcoached when it comes to – and it doesn't happen often. But Dan Quinn seemed like he wasn't really prepared for what they were going to throw at him offensively. The defense was kind of struggling there for most of the game. Now, I will say, giving Dan Quinn his props, he came up when it mattered most.
Yeah, that's true.
At the end of the game, interception, fourth down stop. So I got to give him credit for that. But we got in a sticky situation because of that defense. So I got to say that was a little bit underwhelming. What I was really frustrated with was the game management, clock management, decision making that was made by Mike McCarthy and some of the situational things. I'm going to give him credit. I liked his play calling. I thought he was doing a good job pretty much the entire game, and we were lighting it up. But when it came to making decisions such as going for it on fourth down, not kicking field goals to get some points, that third down pass that we did at the end of the game when it's 3rd and 2 and we threw the ball in the end zone to CD, I get maybe what you're trying to do, but in my mind, those are the types of things, and I texted both Steven and Ethan, those are the types of things that separate, that win you playoff games. Like, you throw the ball and get an incomplete pass and give the other team a timeout with 1:45 at the end of the game, that's how that is how you can lose the game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You guys ever heard the term chess match in a football game? So, like in close games, especially late in the year, it comes down to who's going to manage better, who's going to almost like a shout out Texas Rangers just won the world title. Like it all comes down to like, kind of like managers managing like situational baseball. Yeah. Like when the games are close like that in January, coming up December, January, like games are won or lost by coaches managing those games and kind of playing chess with the other sideline. I've said it on this podcast, and I continue to say, yeah, the play calling is fine, and dude can coach his butt off when we're blowing people out, right?
Yeah.
Very disappointed in Mike McCarthy again with kind of trailing in situational football and everything.
Yeah, it's like the knock on us is we can't beat good teams, right? That's what people always say. But I think that what we learned in this game is a big, which we have kind of seen it in the past, but a big reason are those decisions that we're making when we like Mike being a little bit too aggressive when he doesn't have to be, and it's like if it works out, it's great, but the risk is so bad that you cannot take that. Like when you throw a ball on third down like that, like we did in the end zone, and the risk of not completing that pass is so significant that you have to run the ball in that situation.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's what I was overall the most disappointed with. But I will say my big takeaway, the last thing I'll say from the game, biggest thing I was excited for was, this is a team we've talked about is a team that's really dependent on momentum and really dependent on the defense shutting the other team down, and then the offense kind of feeds off the defense, and that's how we get wins, right? And I'm not going to sit here and say that the Seattle Seahawks are the greatest team of all time. They're a good, not great team. They have good players, and they're a decent team that's in the playoff mix. Not great, but they were a team with a winning record when we played them. But any team like that can come out when they're desperate and they can play a good football game. And they did, right? On offense, they were playing a really good football game. And they had the momentum at many moments, probably most of the time, in that game. And I got to see our team, and led by Dak Prescott, come out there, overcome the momentum, overcome the deficit that we had even late in the game, put the team on his back, and win. So regardless of who it was, what team it was, this is not a bad team. They are a good team, and we didn't have the momentum, and we still overcame. And so that was the biggest thing I was excited about.
So yeah, for me, and I'll be quick and I'll transition. For me, obviously, clearly Dak. I think it was, Dak spread because you could say CD had a good game, Ferg had a good game, Cooks had a good game. He had a touchdown and everything. But that goes back to Dak. I mean, Dak is the MVP. He's working with honestly a lot less talent than somebody like Purdy has. So to me, he's the MVP. And he's doing a lot. He's doing a lot, and he's blowing teams out, and he's beating good teams and coming back against deficits. And he's unbelievable. For me,
Purdy doesn't have to win in spite of his coaching in tough situations.
Yeah. To me, the surprise, and don't get me wrong, man, the Niners are, but we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
To me, the surprise player is, and it wasn't for very long. It wasn't a lot, but it was when it really, really mattered, and that was Jordan Lewis.
Lou, shout out.
Dude, he had, not only was it he tackled it and the guy dropped it. It was like the dude reached in there and, slapped the ball out of the hands on, two crucial, third downs. And I think it's him, DeMarcus, and Micah because they were, but then it's not surprising. That's why I chose Jordan Lewis because I'm like, man, there was, every drive, they're going all the way down the field and getting points. And late in the game, it's to set up fourth down, to get a stop on, to make it third and long, or on third and long, they throw the ball and now they have to go for it on fourth down because it's fourth down and Jordan Lewis is swatting the ball, turning the ball over. So, for me, the disappointment was probably Jacob. I think already got it. Was the safeties. The safeties were kind of underwhelming. J-Ron let up some big plays, and the secondary just wasn't as great. The D-line was good, and there were some secondary players that Gilmore had that really good pass breakup. So him and J-Lou were playing pretty good. That's awesome. Just to transition, I want to say, we're about to get into some spicy stuff. Posted a TikTok the other day, had some interesting comments on there. And we appreciate everybody who comments. We had
a dude on there that's clearly still upset about that Minnesota game last year.
Yeah. But
TikTok's funny like that,
Yeah,
right?
it
Like
it is funny what people will say.
There's no TikTok page that has a fan.
No,
You know, like-
no, and so let's talk. Even though it's not about the Cowboys, it relates. Let's talk about last night's game.
True.
The Eagles versus the 49ers. And I want to just we kind of always talk about the narrative because we are correcting the narrative one video at a time.
That's right.
One post at a time, but. The narrative is that the Cowboys were frauds and sucked because we lost so badly to the 49ers, and we only beat we only beat bad teams, and we're fraudulent. And we're not going to go far in the playoffs because of how bad we lost to the 49ers.
Dak sucks.
Yeah, and Dak sucks. I was at the game.
Dak's he's not the guy anymore. We need to at week 5. We need to trade Dak.
The funniest part,
him.
and I told you guys, but I want to tell the culture this. The funniest part was, hopefully, some dude you're probably watching in section 440, row I think 29, sitting right in front of me, to my left. You were texting somebody during the game that Dak sucks. And so you know who you are, you texted Dak sucks during the game, and that that narrative.
Is he the front runner for MVP,
or does he suck?
Or does he just suck?
And so this Cowboys fans, please understand that Dak does not just suck because you heard it on and that's what the narrative was. Cowboys beat bad teams and lose to the good teams, and that's it. Just quit spouting that out all the time. Just come up with an original thought. Watch the actual games. Don't just listen to Fox FS1 or whatever, or Stephen A. or whoever it is that you watch for your sports commentary. Actually watch the game. Actually watch the Cowboys because they're America's team.
Did you see the Cardinals game?
Oh, Cardinals.
No, did you see the Cowboys versus Cardinals game?
Oh yeah,
Dak sucks.
Yeah.
So
anyway, but what I wanted to say,
I love that game because it's kind of just it's kind of like that's the national media's little safety net. It's but what happened to the Cardinals?
Yeah.
Week 3.
Yeah, what happened to the Jets? Philadelphia.
Right.
Anyway, but what I wanted to say was when we beat them, they're trash, and then when they beat the Eagles, they have a great defense. It's Jalen that sucks, and it kind of showed last night. What I wanted to say about the Eagles and Niners game, this is the game where you look at it and you say, okay, not only, and we'll give you the props, and we're going to only do it once. This is the only time you're going to hear it out of me. The Niners are the best team in the NFL. I mean, they are, barring the quarterback. The quarterback means nothing. It's the coaching. It's all of your wide receivers. It's all your tight end player. It's your O-line. You have some of the best O-line players on your team, barring what people think about the Eagles O-line, which they didn't play great last night. The D-line is just stacked even to their third string, fourth string edge rushers and defensive tackles. Your linebackers are unbelievable. Your cornerbacks have really stepped up. Even without your safety group, they're the best team in the NFL. I think AFC included. I think we are the closest thing to the Niners. I don't think the Eagles are better than us, and I think that you'll see on Sunday, obviously, but the luck has run out for the Eagles, and
I just think Miami is a good comparison to them too. I just think they have the explosive plays that we see out of San Francisco. Yeah, so I mean, but you're right. Our offense is very explosive.
And another thing is what's awesome about another thing that happened on Sunday that was awesome is the Chiefs lost to the
Packers.
Packers. That's for some reason I keep wanting to say Broncos, but anyway,
they did that too.
Yeah, but this past one was the Packers. The AFC just isn't extraordinarily strong.
Kansas City Chiefs.
That we came into the season saying that there's no good quarterbacks in the NFC, so the NFC is weaker than the AFC.
Yeah,
Man,
it hasn't been the case.
It just hasn't been the case. It's honestly been you have the quarterbacks over there, but the rest of the team suffers, and you have no defense, and that's the difference.
Baltimore's deal is we're getting another one of these Lamar years, right? They come about every 4 or 5 years. We're getting another one of these Lamar years, and that's Baltimore's strength, obviously. So I really think they're going to be blown past come December, January.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Miami coming out of there is the only true threat. If you want to say,
and it's because they
I
have
don't
they
know.
have a complete full team. The Miami Dolphins, even though their O-line really isn't like crazy or anything, but they have the defensive players. I think they've lost some people on their D-line, I believe, like Jalen Phillips or somebody like that got hurt. But I don't know how to the extent, but I remember seeing that on X. But they're one of the more complete teams in the AFC. But when you look at teams like I'm not even going to include the Eagles because their defense is god awful, except for like 2 players on their D-line. But Bradbury is trash, by the way. And man, you let him say that, and the dude had 3 touchdowns. I mean, God bless America. Anyway, you guys wanted to rub it in on us, but we're gonna rub it in on you Eagles fans. The dude called your cornerback that you paid $20 million plus trash, and the dude had 3 touchdowns. I mean, you'd actually let him have 3 touchdowns. Anyways. On the NFC side, the only 2 teams that are complete or like close to complete are us and the Niners. But the Niners they play with
just a physicality.
Man, the physicality is they may not have the finesse, they may not have the wow factor, even though I think they do. Man, they just
I totally think they do.
Every player from every position just will pop you, man.
I mean,
they will shove your head in the dirt and step on your neck.
I told Ethan based off of, I think it was like the first or second defensive play from the 49ers. Like we saw, it was like Greenlaw or somebody just destroy one of their players, and we were just like, yeah, the 49ers. They came out there looking like they actually wanted to kill somebody.
Yeah.
And that's what they do, and so that's why it's hard to
looks like.
It's hard to beat them.
That's what
it's hard to beat them in the playoffs. Looking forward to the playoffs, it would be hard to beat them in the playoffs because if they want to win, if it's a game where we've seen where maybe not everybody's healthy and Brock Purdy doesn't have 6 Pro Bowlers to throw the ball to or hand the ball off to, they'll struggle. But if they're healthy, I mean.
Well, especially
whatever job you have in life, this is for the culture. This is more of a just a public service announcement. Whatever job you have in life, whether it be a CEO of a company, whether it be a quarterback, whether it be somebody who works on tech gear, whatever job you have in life, hope and pray that it is easy as Brock Purdy's.
Yeah.
Because that guy has the easiest job in America.
Outside of Jalen Hurts.
And you also
true enough.
And then and so my point is this: we got bashed on TikTok for saying that the Eagles are lucky. Well, it's a little bit of luck and it's a little bit of fraudulency. I mean, you guys beat us because we crumbled at the very end of the game when we honestly should have punched it in. The Chiefs, who aren't looking to be that great anymore, and have some serious issues, you barely beat them because their receivers suck and the dude didn't. I mean, the dude had the game in the bag and he dropped it. Same thing for the Bills. Josh Allen throws the ball on the wrong side of the defender and throws it into the ground, or they would have won the game because Gabe Davis was wide open. And so, I don't really have like discontentment with or a hate for the Niners. I definitely don't like it when they beat us, and I definitely don't like that they've ended our season 2 years in a row. But it's refreshing to see the Niners destroy them.
Yeah, I guess so. I'll say that I'm much older than you guys and a much longer Cowboys fan just by default of age. I can't stand them. But I will say
hate Philadelphia
but see,
more.
I was going to say that.
I hate Philadelphia more, obviously. But I think it's like I don't like the 49ers. I don't hate them that much. But I definitely don't like them. But it's like I'm not just a straight up hater where like even if you're good, I'm still going to say you're bad. And
No, the 49ers are great.
The 49ers are actually good. The Eagles, and specifically Jalen, the reason why we get so, or at least I get so frustrated about that and him is because nobody gets more hype and credit for doing literally nothing than in the league. And I've never seen anybody get more credit than what Jalen does.
He must have never seen the tush push.
And I mean, please stop talking about the 11 or 12, whatever it is now, rushing touchdowns. You've had two legitimate rushing touchdowns.
Push.
Other than that, you're having A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert pick you up by your panties and pull you over the line. That's ridiculous.
And it's getting Dallas Goedert killed.
Yeah.
Well, but and
literally.
we said before all this that the Eagles were. Ethan said the Eagles were looking a lot closer than many Philadelphia fans would like to the Minnesota Vikings of last year, this year. And, winning a lot of those close games, really not looking great, but at the end of the game, somehow coming out on top.
Yeah, Josh Allen fumbles the ball on the goal line.
Yeah. What happens when you play a team like the 49ers where – and another key factor in this game was if the refs don't get – if it's not a game where the refs get really, really involved and make really, really crucial penalties.
Or non-calls.
Yeah. I knew if that didn't happen, I knew that it was going to be a very bad day for the Philadelphia Eagles. And last night, to the refs' credit, at Philadelphia, they didn't call they called a very fair game.
Refs were really letting them play.
Yeah, they let them play for the most part. And what we saw was a complete dismantling of the Philadelphia Eagles from top to bottom. Jalen, I texted some friends this yesterday. I better never see his name in the MVP conversation again. That dude had more time than he probably had more time in the pocket.
Awful.
He probably had more time to just stand in the pocket total than we've seen in a single game in the past 10 years. And the dude could not put anything together. The dude standing back there for 15 seconds and trips. They didn't even have to get pressure on the man. He'd fall down. And, I mean, it was such bad quarterback play. It was so clear that you're being held back by your quarterback, but yet the dude gets more credit than anybody else.
Yeah.
And it's just so frustrating. But I think that the Eagles clearly showed yesterday what we've been saying, that the culture's been saying the entire time, which is they're a good team, but they're nowhere near what people are saying. There's some major problems in their defense. Their quarterback is really struggling, and they've
what a great offensive line.
Significantly great.
And you're missing those coordinators that you had
their
last
O
season.
line is solid. Their O line is keeping them keeping them winning.
They keep Jalen in those conversations you just said keep him out of. They are the reason he gets to exist in those conversations, quite frankly.
And the two, it's the mixture of an unbelievable O-line and unbelievable. I mean, you've got Julio Jones as your fourth string wide receiver.
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, and as we've said before, give me 20 seconds in the pocket and A.J. Brown and the Slim Reaper, and Goddard on the edge. I can probably complete a few passes in the NFL with that.
Yeah.
So
but anyway, what I wanted to say, and just to transition here to the last little topic that we had, but the Eagles, they are a bit above average team. Don't let the record. I mean, the Vikings were 10-1, I think, and we just beat the dog crap out of them, and then they were never the same ever since.
You remember Halloween last year? Kirk Cousins was the MVP.
Yeah. and so that's what's happening to the Eagles right now. But anyway.
But the media
it's
doesn't
happening
want to talk
in live.
about it.
It's happening. Yeah, and again, I want to reiterate this just before we transition. When the Cowboys lost, culture, just in case you were wondering, when the Cowboys lost to the Niners earlier this season, I mean, they were ready to fire Mike McCarthy, get rid of Dak. We sucked. Our season's done. We should just tank. We need to reset everything. But the Eagles get destroyed just as bad as we do, and it's just like, yeah, well, the Eagles are still a top team in the league. It's like, nah, man, come on, be real. Let's let them have it. That was a stinker. That was you played a terrible game, and then they tried to take Jalen out and say he had a little concussion or whatever, so that they could save face. Like, no, the dude's terrible, and he's the reason why you lost, and you're not really that great. But anyway, the hierarchy is
before we move on. Great point. Yeah, Jalen Hurts, most fraudulent quarterback in the NFL. There's one thing I want to say about what you just said about at the loss after the Niners. Me personally, I'm still on the fence with Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy rared his what are you doing head Thursday night again. Mm-hmm. He's a fantastic play caller, and he always has been. Right? He called Aaron Rodgers all the way to the Super Bowl title in his career. But we're going to find out a lot, as you have the Eagles, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Lions, and then one more shot at the Sam Howell kid, right? So I feel like we're going to get a fair dose of how Mike McCarthy, the coach, it makes decisions here down the stretch because we're going to be in some close games. Yeah, so
it's like all playoff teams.
I don't want to get on a tangent. I don't want to get on a tangent on that, but I have said on this podcast before that if we do not make the NFC Championship game, I feel like I would like to see something else. But moving on.
Yeah. But I will say, or finish what your point was.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because we're correcting the narrative here one episode at a time, we cannot let what Ethan was talking about pass, which is you cannot not acknowledge the clear media bias that we're seeing today and at the even after the game and during the game versus with the Eagles and the 49ers than what it was with the Cowboys and the 49ers. With the Cowboys and 49ers, it was the Cowboys are in shambles. They're going to have to go back to the drawing boards. They might need to let's see what Trey Lance can do. Mike McCarthy needs to be fired.
The Eagles needed this.
Yeah, the Eagles do it, and it's nothing. They don't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to.
It's good for them. They were told.
Yeah, I was literally on YouTube trying to find videos about people bashing the Eagles like they should right now. Could not find anything.
Yeah, there's a clear media bias, and I mean, I think it partially is just because of the hate that the Cowboys get, and everybody knows that. Talking about the Eagles and hyping them, they're kind of like the media's golden child in a sense.
Nobody ever became Stephen A. Smith in the national media for hating the Philadelphia Eagles.
And they've dug in so deep now that there's
no backing out.
They can't really back out of it, so they just have to kind of not talk about it.
Your boy Richard Sherman is a perfect example.
Dude, that dude is a moron.
You've got 3 weeks ago, this guy says CeeDee Lamb barely can play. He come to Thursday night before the Seahawks game kicks off. CeeDee's just, been on record paces for the last 3 weeks, and he says, he's made a believer of me. He wouldn't say that CeeDee's a clear number one, but he's made a believer of me. It's just
he doesn't. I think he said it today on Undisputed, but still, I mean, that's ridiculous.
What lazy narratives to create.
He also go let that idiot know however you can.
He went to Stanford.
That dude says that we're going to lose our next 3 games: Eagles, Bills, Dolphins. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Of how stupid that is.
Right.
Anyway. Let's wrap up here with our last little segment that we want to talk about. Man, we've got a game to play this Sunday. We're playing the Peagles at AT&T Stadium. We definitely should have beaten them in Philadelphia, so you can imagine what the game's going to be like on Sunday. I'll just start off, and we can be as quick and as brief as you want, or we can take however long you want. But we had that game in the bag.
Sure.
We were wrapping up. We were on the 6-yard line. There was nothing really outside of maybe a sack that they had against us in that red zone that they did to keep us from winning that game. We made a step out of bounds Dak on barely. And we made a rookie tight end who had a touchdown who barely got his knee down. It's not.
We should have won the game long before that sack.
And what I was thinking of when I watched that Seahawks game that we just played, I saw we stopped them at the 50-yard line on 4th down 2 or 3 times in a row. You're not about to score a touchdown if you're at the 50-yard line unless you're Brock Purdy throwing a 5-yard pass to Deebo Samuel twice.
Who's going for 60?
Who's going for 60 touchdown?
50.
Yeah.
And now he's leading the MVP.
Yeah. And but my point is that it wasn't like the dude was in the red zone and he threw some unfortunate passes and they didn't get a call and then they lost. No, it's like we shut them down, Dak scored. We shut them down, Dak scored. We shut them down, we scored, right? At the 50. The Eagles, multiple games in a row, at least three that I can think of, us, the Bills, and the Chiefs, have won a game when the game was in the bag and they didn't have the ball for the other team. The game was in the bag for the other team and they didn't have the ball.
Yeah.
And somehow it didn't it wasn't a defensive, wow, look at that play by the No, it was what a goof by the other team, or what actually just happened and why did the Eagles just win. And so when you come to the Death Star now, I mean, you can't tell me that
14 in a row.
Yeah, you can't tell me that we are just thinking about it and you're going to come to Dallas and you're not going to be able to do this to us because we blah blah. I saw a dude call your cornerbacks trash and he put 3 touchdowns on you.
Yeah.
So, we're not really even our players really aren't even talking. We just, we won our revenge because we should have won that game.
And
unfortunately, unfortunately, you're just not going to win this game. I mean, you know that you should have lost that game in Philadelphia, and I know all you delusional Eagles fans, and you just terrible fans.
There's an Eagles fan out there on TikTok that thinks we lost by 11.
Yeah,
he thought with seconds left in the game on the 6-yard line, we were just playing for fun points.
Yeah, and so there's just the only thing for me to say is you're not going to win that game, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, and if man, it's going to be worse. It's honestly going to be It's going to be bad.
I'm with you.
It's going to be bad.
I'm with you.
Dak's going to come to play, and so is Micah.
Yeah.
Micah's going to have a day.
So
I feel it.
Yeah. Speak your truth.
CeeDee Lamb might go for 200.
Yeah, I mean, any unbiased person should be able to tell we're clearly a better team.
Yeah.
They beat us. They technically beat us the first game, but and I'll give them credit. A lot of people in the mainstream media were, after that loss to the Eagles, we're saying, the Eagles really didn't. The Cowboys just made a couple mistakes. The refs. Everybody acknowledged the refs were really involved. Which, if the media acknowledges that the Cowboys really kind of just, the Eagles kind of got away with one there on the Cowboys, that's how you know it was bad and blatant. Because the referees were. I mean, it was atrocious, that game. And I know people say, don't blame the refs, but at some point, the referees can impact the game, can swing the game, and especially when it's a one-position game like that. Anytime you're in the fourth quarter and your last 3 drives are punts, and all you got to do is get a first down to end the game in the last 2 drives, and you can't do it, and the Cowboys are living in the red zone the entire fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, whether it's a knee down or stepping out of bounds, walk away with no points, and then even still, after all that bad luck, your players are over there sitting on the sidelines looking sad because they know that in their mind they know they lost, and the Cowboys proceed to have 2 offensive penalties.
And the luck, look, here's the thing. The luck has run out, okay? The luck has completely run out, and our quarterback outplayed your quarterback by 3 times the yard, almost 3 times the yards. So
the way to ensure that they don't have good luck, the 49ers have given us a tutorial of that. The way to ensure that the Philadelphia Eagles don't luck out in the end is to completely obliterate them. And it's my opinion, for reasons that have strong evidence, that is what's going to take place Sunday here.
See,
so,
it's
and
dependent.
And me and Jacob, half of the culture at least, will be at the game.
But it's dependent on what we saw in the 49ers game. Will the refs let them play?
Let them play.
If the refs get involved like they typically do,
I don't think it's going to matter.
It will. You're underestimating how big of a deal. Bad.
Like, look at what Geno. They legit. I know they did it for both teams, but they did it for one of our drives. But 2, I think, of their touchdown drives were straight up no actual offensive gains other than maybe a short run. The rest of it was a flag that took them all the way to the end zone.
Yeah,
you can call holding and pass interference on every play.
Sure.
And if the refs are going to make really, really bad calls, and it only favors most of the time one team, it can make a huge difference. And so I'm just saying I want it to be a balanced, low referee interference game. Let them play. If they do that like they did for the 49ers, I think that we'll win by a decent amount. I don't think that we're going to blow them out.
At least 10 points.
I don't think we're going to blow them out like the 49ers did. I think it will be a tougher game. Their division, they're coming off of a tough win, so it's going to be emotional for them. They're going to be playing their heart out. But I think that those dudes over there were crying for a reason. I think that they weren't just crying because they were getting beat from the 49ers. I think they knew it was going to be at least 2 in a row because they're coming to Dallas, and they knew it was going to be tough. And so I think we're gonna beat them, but I don't think it's gonna be. I think it'll be a tough fought game. Like I said, because of familiarity, how familiar they are with each other.
Well.
I real quick, we're gonna win by 2 possessions.
You think so?
Yep.
At 10-14, probably.
No. I think we're gonna win. I mean, Philly's going to score, right? I mean, they're gonna get their rushing touchdown, right? They're going to get their 1-yard scamper. But shout out DeAndre Swift or whatever his name is. He's not the most important Swift in the NFL these days.
They're going to get the 7-point panty puller.
Panty pull. This thing is taking.
I've seen Jalen.
Did you know Jalen Hurts could squat 600 pounds? Tell me if you knew that.
I've seen them literally. While the commentator, I need to go back and figure out which game that is. While the commentator is talking about how strong his legs are, and this is good. This is a high percentage play because of how strong Jalen's legs are. Dallas Goedert and A.J. Brown have him completely off the ground, and he's just riding it. It just like what? Come on.
I don't think Philly scores more than 21 in this game. I really think they're probably going to score about somewhere between 17 and 20, to be honest.
Really?
And I think that I do because it's going to be so physical. It's going to be their best shot because this is going to keep their relevance, right? So they're going to give it everything they've got. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm not taking away the fact that they are a good team, right? They're not the world beaters everybody says they are. They're a good enough football team, right? The quarterback is their hinder.
I'll say 30-20.
Fine.
I think it'll be a maximum of 10-point win. I do think it will have a potential to be high scoring just because of how well the other teams know each other. It's a divisional game.
I'll say 30-21 because Jake Elliott doesn't miss those field goals.
Here's what's going to happen. They're going to score in the 20s, and we're going to score in the 30s. So,
all right, that's fair.
Yeah, let me. I'll even be specific for the fun of it. I think we win 31-17. So,
wow, that's pretty big.
I'll be specific. I think
we're about to give them a Mississippi lick. All right,
so, I'll take 33-21.
Yeah. They're coming to a place where we don't lose. They're coming to a place. Shout out Rain Dakota, but
that boy's nasty.
They're coming to a place where that dude,
was nasty.
That dude is that dude.
When Dak did that in that game, I'm just gonna say, I was watching the game with my mom and I was like, we just won.
Because we just won that game.
That's before the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
That's
at that moment I was like, oh man.
Okay,
yeah,
I was at the game with my cousin. Shout out Bobby, and we were watching that live, and it was one of us. I think it was him that said when we saw that, I was like, I was saying, ugh, because he was like that,
yeah.
And then
you don't want Dak to have that.
Yeah, my cousin was like, oh, Dak wants it bad. And I was like, he's like, we're probably going to win because Dak wants it bad. I was like, yeah, you're right. I haven't seen that kind of like look real. There's a couple of times this season where I'm like, Dak really wants these games, but I haven't seen that like where we're trail or it's a close game and Dak just wants it since the Bucs playoff game where Dak just let him have it because it was like, you know what, we're not losing first round of the playoffs this year.
Yeah, well, I think that goes beyond Dak just wanting it real bad. That was Dak saying, I'm coming to get it, and there ain't a darn thing you can do about it. I'm flexing on you.
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
I do think that it's time to pay the piper. I think you're coming to a place where we do not lose. As a matter of fact, you're coming to a place where we blow folks out. All right, and I'm not saying that they're the Giants. All right, I'm not saying they're the Jets. I'm not saying, even though they can't beat the Jets, I'm not saying that they're New England. But what I'm saying is you're coming to a place that's almost virtually impossible for the other team to win.
No, actually, you're coming to a place where we love 40 burgers, man.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, and like I said, if you want to throw, if you want to throw up 20 points, Dak will throw up 40 for you. Shout out Rams.
I wouldn't be surprised if they make something out of this concussion thing with Jalen, because they know it's not going to be good.
Whatever. Bring that narrative. Bring it all. Because we know we can't win anyway in the media, because we know the goalpost is going to be moved, because we can go and beat a winning team, and it's just, it's that particular winning team. That's fine. Come on with the concussion crap. Come on with the,
same thing as last year. You didn't want to have to face the music and get beat with your little quarterback.
He's got a hurt leg or whatever. So bring all of that. Let us have a very meaningless win against the Philadelphia Eagles, right? That ties us for first place. And if you go back on some of these episodes, you've heard me say since September, we will be playing Philadelphia in this game for first place. We happen to be playing. It would tie us for first, and then they have a much easier skid than us going forward. But I ain't scared of nobody in this league right now. Not the way Ford's playing.
Definitely not in the AFC.
Except for the 49ers.
I'm not scared of them. Right? I'm not. There's reason to be. There's reason to give them their props and their respect. But for me right now, I just think that you line 4 up against anybody and his weapons.
Which back then he wasn't playing the way he is now.
Exactly.
We have evolved our offense.
That offense, Texas Coast, West Coast, whatever you want to call it, Mike McCarthy's offense, I think we were still, in the beginning stages of what that was going to look like.
Yeah.
And it has evolved. And I'll just say, I do not fear anyone. Do I think the 49ers can blow the brakes off of us? Sure. Do I think we can give them a game? I do.
I've seen it.
Yeah. So we just saw it for 2 straight years against the exact same guys that are playing right now.
Yeah. So here, I mean, I'll wrap up. So listen, Eagles, I hope you really had a great night last night. You got Mississippi licked. You got a good one too. Now you know how it feels. Congratulations, 49ers. You guys are playing out of your mind, and you guys are incredible. And Eagles, man. Unfortunately for you, you got the Dallas Cowboys in Arlington next game, so you're going to lose, and it's going to be bad. So let us know what you guys think about anything that we've said today. If you have any comments, be sure to leave them on the under the video. We're also going to be posting TikToks more regularly, so if you have a problem with anything we say on the TikTok, obviously you guys are more than welcome, and you do let us know what you guys think on there. Make sure you guys are hitting up 360 Roof and our sponsor, and make sure you guys are liking, commenting, and subscribing to the YouTube channel. And we'll see y'all later.
Jaden Daniels for Heisman.